Welcome to Season 2 of the Soualichi Stories, presented by the Foresee Foundation and funded by UNESCO. The Soualichi Stories series includes tales of our island's beloved legends, history, and folklore, as told by exceptional Sint Maarten storytellers. Foresee Foundation is honored to share these stories as it brings people together and bridges the gap between generations. These stories remind us of our culture, our heritage, our one island. Through these stories, we hope you feel more connected as we strive to keep the art of storytelling alive. Please enjoy this next Soualichi story and all the other stories in our series, and let us know if there's any other particular story you would love to hear in the future. Enjoy!
The Caribbean islands have always been rich in stories of pirates and treasures, of adventures and mysteries and legends. Sint Maarten is no different. Being surrounded by water brings many aquatic legends to our shores. One such legend that you may or may not know is the legends of the mermaids. Fishermen, pirates, or any seafaring folk were usually the only persons who would encounter these mythical creatures. But for the last 50 years or so, more and more mermaids have been spotted on the shores of Sint Maarten, especially on one of the most beautiful beaches in the world, Mullet Bay Beach. You may be wondering, how come mermaids come into Sint Maarten and I have never seen one? Well, not many people know what to look for. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been to any beach that has beach chairs? Have you ever noticed that somehow on the chairs, there are either rocks or shells left on these chairs? I know. You think, well, maybe the guests collected them and put them there just for style. Well, that may be the case too. But this is what the old men, the old fishermen, who often fish off of the beach coast, told me. After they told me this, I started seeing these mermaids myself. Let me tell you about the first two mermaids I ever spotted, the Mullet Bay mermaids. One early morning, I went for my usual exercise on Mullet Bay Beach. This particular morning, I remember it good. It was a while after my fisherman friend Howard met up with me and started rambling on about this mermaid business. So the story was still fresh in my mind. He said, "You ever wonder why you would always find plastics and cloths and wires and zinc and car parts washed up on the beach? But almost never would you find glass pieces or glass bottles." I thought real hard to myself. I had to admit that Howard made a good observation. So I asked him straight, just to entertain the conversation, of course. Because Howard had a wild imagination. Why is that so, Howard? Why we don't find much glass pieces or glass bottles in and near the shore? He started to laugh as if it was a matter of fact. He said to me, "Because you can't make glass in the sea. And if it stay on the shore, it's gonna wear down to a grain of sand." So of course the mermaids who use the glass as money would collect and keep the pieces of glass while it was still whole, or at least in big enough piece to be of value. Of course I didn't take Howard serious. I watched him, he watched me back, and then I started to laugh. And Howard, who doesn't have a care in the world other than fishing, started to laugh also. I come to the beach to exercise almost every morning. And if I do find a glass bottle, it's usually up on the shore, away from the coastline where some irresponsible person left it from the day before drinking. So I would throw it in the trash like any person should. But mermaids using glass as money? Howard, you're so foolish sometimes. Anyways, this particular morning on the beach, I happened to meet these two beautiful ladies walking along the shore. Nothing out of the ordinary, of course. So many different people often visit Mullet Bay early each morning to stretch their legs and do their exercise or whatnot. What did catch my attention was that these ladies were walking while scanning the shoreline, as if they had lost something of value. Ever so often, I would see one of these ladies bend down and pick up a shiny little object, examine it, and then throw it in a net bag. These ladies were each carrying a net bag, diving mask, a couple of conch shells, and some amazing colored fins. These fins were a design I wasn't familiar with. They were really long and had some amazing patterns and styles to them. Almost out of this world style patterns. So eventually, I crossed paths with these ladies. "Good morning, ladies," I said. The ladies looked up from their search almost as if they weren't expecting anyone to see them so early in the morning, and gave me a beautiful smile and said, "Good morning, good sir." Did you ladies lose something on the beach?" I asked. They chuckled to each other and looked at me and said, "Oh no, we are just looking for sea glass." I was amazed, and my first thought was, well, thank God we have some environment-loving people around trying to keep our beaches clean. So I officially introduced myself and said to them, "Ladies, what you are doing is amazing. I wish I had the time and dedication to come to the beach and help keep it clean like you ladies are doing right now." The ladies chuckled to themselves again. They gave me their names, Sandy and Betty. We stood there and talked a bit about how people were being too irresponsible when it came to litter on the beach and in the oceans, and we talked about how each of us can do our part. It was such an inspiring discussion that I asked the ladies if I could meet them somewhere, sometime, and we can sit and chat some more. Sandy and Betty got a bit sad. They apologized and told me that what they were doing, is a project for their job, and they weren't sure how often they would be assigned to this beach, so they weren't flexible like that. Which is understandable, so I wished them a pleasant day further, and I went about my running on the beach and my other exercises. I watched Sandy and Betty slowly walk along the beach and collect so many pieces of beach glass that I started to wonder what they would be doing with all that beach glass they collected. I know we don't have a glass recycling company on Sint Maarten. Maybe they're using it for arts and craft. Sea glass does resemble beads and jewelry at times. I think it would be nice to contribute to their business. So I sat on the sand and waited for Sandy and Betty to finish their walk on the beach, and then I would go talk to them and donate to this wonderful effort they were doing. By now these ladies were on the far end of the beach, and I was on the far opposite end of the beach. So I did some stretches, took a nice swim, and then sat on the sand to dry while I wait for the ladies to walk back down the beach. What happened next though caught me off guard. I saw Sandy reach into her net bag and pull out what looked like a conch shell. And then she poured all the pieces of sea glass they collected into the conch shell. Betty was walking along the beach chairs and placing something on the chairs one by one. What all this had to do with recycling, I do not know. But it had me intrigued. So I sat and watched. After a few minutes, the ladies folded their net bags and also stuffed it into the mouth of the conch shell. And then they started to go into the water, still carrying the fins and the mask. Funny enough, as the ladies reached further out into the water and almost around the coral bend, I noticed that they let the fins and the mask just sink into the bottom of the water. This wasn't odd, as I have friends who snorkel a lot and they know how to put on the gear underwater. So I sat and waited to see how skillful these ladies were. Sandy was the first to dive under, with her conch shell filled with glass. Betty kept wading in the water, looking over the shore, almost as if she forgot something. She spotted me sitting to the far end of the beach and waved to me. I was naturally excited, and so I got up real quick to wave back. After I dusted off my pants from all the sand that was stuck to it, I looked up and scanned the waterline for Betty or even Sandy, who oddly enough didn't come up for air. But to my surprise, I couldn't spot Betty or Sandy anywhere. I started to panic, so I ran along the beach, not taking my eyes off the waterline, hoping to see these ladies come back up. It took me about 2 minutes to reach the point where these ladies entered the water, and still no sign of them. An old fisherman who was fishing off of the rocks saw me run up. So he asked me, "Sonny, you lost something in the sea?" I asked him if he saw the two ladies swim out just now, around the rocks where he was fishing. I told him they may be diving or snorkeling. He started to laugh and came up to me and said, "Don't let these mermaids play tricks on you, you know. If they went to the water, that's because they came from the water." And then he wished me a good day and walked away whistling. I looked back at the chairs where Betty placed the shells, and to my surprise, there was a message in a plastic bottle with my name on it. It read, "Thank you, Piet. It was a nice chat this morning. We may meet again someday." And that is when I realized exactly what the old man told me. Mermaid tricks. So if you ever meet beautiful ladies early morning on the beach searching for sea glass, keep in mind, these might be mermaids. For sure, I will never forget my Mullet mermaids. The world is an amazing place.
We hope you enjoyed this inspiring Soualichi story as presented to you by the Foresee Foundation and funded by UNESCO. We hope this story helped all of you feel more connected to the island and to each other. More information on the story and schedule can be found on Foresee's website and Facebook page. We look forward to connecting again with you soon in our next Soualichi story.